Okay, top of the hour. I will share my screen here. Thank you everyone for being here. And let's see here. I do not see any JV partners on the webinar yet. I'm not sure who's going to show up because, again, everybody seems to be fairly busy, which is good. So I guess that's just, that's fine. We will do whatever we have to do to make this happen. First thing I was going to tell you guys is this, that as you can see, I just want to show you all the blog posts that have been done that I did here in my little experiment over a 6-month period proved to be less than productive. So we know that I can't really claim that doing 4 times a day blogging is going to get you any better placement. It didn't for me. So that's one of the things. One of the things I'm concentrating on though is, again, like I think I've shown you before, is the idea of the Fred Personal Boot Camp. And so my model has just been to now try and concentrate on that, and to so process or system for me now is get those who are interested in information marketing to take a Fred Personal Boot Camp. That's step one, and then assess if they would make a good JV partner. And my goal would be to get to add one good JV partner each year, so that what happens is that my income will continue to grow based on my finding someone who is good. And most recently, I've got 2 things here that actually 3 JV partners who've come on board. Well, one a while back, but was kind of inactive. But there's enough now that the monies that are generated from our work together can start to become pretty interesting. So I would highly recommend that you sort of understand the process by going to this site, copying it if you want to. The Fred Info Bootcamp site, again, that's more for group participation. So I've got 2 options there. I've got option 1. Option 1 is 1-to-1 personal bootcamp, and then I've got option 2, which is group bootcamp. I'm not doing those as much anymore because I found this one, the first one, option 1, to be just more effective. So there you have it. Along with that, my whole thing here is to just keep doing what I'm doing, and to keep doing it better and better, and to find more people who are really good. Now, Bill DeWeese, who is pictured here, but this is his site, the voice-over-training.org. I want to show you something that's pretty interesting about his. Let's go to YouTube and let me just show you a little something with here. We'll put in Bill DeWeese channel. And so if we go to Bill's channel, I think, can we find the main channel here without its auto starting on us? Here we go. Okay, so there are a total of, and I don't know how we find his, this is weird. Forget how I find his channel. Okay, so you got this particular video had 1,500 people who watched it, but I'm more looking for his Bill DeWeese channel. Hold on, let me just find this for you. Bill DeWeese channel. Let's see here. Oh. Trying to find, oh, there it is. Okay, so if we go here, I think this will show us. Yeah, look at this. There are, if I have this right, he has 2,544 people subscribed to his channel. That's quite a few. And that allows him to, if you take a combination and he's using webmarketingmagic.com, and he's got, I think, about maybe, I don't know, 3,500 opt-ins. Then YouTube channel, he's got about 2,500 opt-ins in a way there. And if you put these, and oftentimes it's kind of funny because these two, I don't think there's a whole, there may be 10, maybe 20% overlap. So he's got quite a good number of people in this very small niche that are following him pretty actively. And so when he puts out a new product or service, he doesn't really have to do a whole lot, and people find him and sign up. So now, I don't know if he has it under products or coaching, what he has it under here. Yeah, his quick start coaching program, which I don't even think it has a link. These are, okay. So his latest thing is to do this quick start voiceover program, which I think he charges, again, about $495 for, and he can have up to 10 people, and he does it, once a month. So he's got a fair amount of money. But his question to me last time we spoke, and we spoke a couple days ago, he was getting kind of frustrated with the following, which I think is interesting, which he said to me, and this goes back to part of process here. So let's just say, so the problem for him was too much time being spent on all info marketing related activity. So I asked him, I said, well, Bill, what do you mean? What are you spending your time on? He said, well, we have to do a lot of follow-up, people call. So I did a couple of things, and I asked him, I said, of all the people who contact you, how many of them spend at least $1 with you on something? And he gave me an interesting answer. He said between 15 to 20%. So I said, what we have to do, of the people who contact him ever give him a dime? So I said, what we want to do then is we want to create automated systems for responding. And so then we spent some time looking for various kinds of software that had automated response kind of things that we were looking into. And so what I said was, I'd like to make it so that we separate your people into two different groups. Number one is prospects, obviously people who spent nothing, no dollar spent, and customers have spent money. And so in doing that, what I want to do is and the prospects who have spent no dollars, I want automated responses. And the customers, I said, that's where you want to spend your time doing any kind of personalization of responses or whatever. And that seemed to, sort of work for him. And we looked at a few different pieces of software that are out there that will help you do this. But we also found out that within web, the other thing that I told him is, and this is important too, so if you have your information products business up and running, one of the elements that you may want to try and keep very, very close to you when you're talking to people is, let's say I have customers, let's say I have 1,000 customers. And what I do is I put a field in the database that has dollars spent. So dollars spent is one of the fields. And what happens is I am now able to pull up, whenever I'm talking to someone, how much has this person spent with me? That's my question. So if I'm able to find out that this person has spent with me, $1,200, my responses will be very different from someone who has spent $50. Now, that may sound a little bit discriminatory, and it is, because frankly, the person who spends $1,200 is, quote unquote, a much better customer than the person who spent $50. So I'd like you to start doing this yourself, which is as you create your databases, a couple things to remember as you start getting people into your funnel, you start adding people to your your list of people who follow you and what you do in your field. You create your database, and again, Web Marketing Magic can do this, and so it's got a field where you can do this as well. But the cool thing about it is that I think that it's pretty obvious to everyone that people who have not yet spent any money with you, we're not going to give them any special hand holding. We're not going to do anything great or special for them. Now somebody would say, well, wait a second. Those people are potential customers. I know, but I mean, we can't afford to spend. I don't want Bill to spend all his time, 80% of his time talking to people who never give him his dime. That's just not how it should be. So we're going to set up all these automated responses. And one of the things that we were looking for was a way to make it, and there's software that, in addition to Web Marketing Magic, that you can get that does this, which is you create a database of questions that people ask you, sort of a knowledge base, so that over time, everybody who asks a question, you answer them via email or whatever, you put it into the system, and before long, you can basically make your responses to people fairly automatic, because most of the questions someone asks today will be a question that was asked and answered 3 months ago with someone else in almost the exact same form. So to create those standardized responses really, really, really makes a lot of sense, because it'll cut down a lot on the amount of time he spends. And I understand his frustration, because it's a lot of time and energy if you get everybody or give everybody the same priority, which we don't want to do. We want to make sure that we are discriminatory, and we give people who have given us money, and we divide it really into 2 groups, or 3 groups now, which is prospects, spent no money, customers who have spent some money, and really good customers which have spent more than X amount of dollars. And that's how we sort of divvy it up. So in doing that, you're going to come up with, and this means how much of your time are you going to devote to customer in segment A, segment B, and segment C. And obviously you're going to spend the majority of your time devoting it to people who have given you more money, because the chances of them giving you even more money is much greater than either the people who have given you no money or the people who have given you a little money. I think that makes a lot of sense. So that should be clear and easy to understand. If you have any questions on that or anything I've talked about thus far, put it in the question box here, because as is often the case, none of the JV partners are on the webinar today because, number one, it's summer. Number two, they're working, making money. I know that Bill is very busy. Avish is preparing for a big convention he's doing, and a few other people are also busy. So if you have any questions, now's the time to ask them, as I will give you some more sort of things that I'm thinking of and how they're going. Avish, though, came up with something, which is that he's going to be, with Speaking Expert, he's going to be taking and starting to do interviews with industry experts. And so he told me about this, and the first thing I said was, so since he's abandoning the 4 times a day blogging, or at one point I think he was doing twice a day, so he's not doing that anymore. So if we look at speakingexpert.com, we look to the blog. Where's the blog here? Go to the blog, and he's got plenty of blog posts, but we sort of stopped really getting crazy about adding to them because it didn't seem to be working. So what Avish is going to do is he's going to start interviewing industry quote-unquote experts. And when he said it to me, I said, oh, that sounds great. Immediately I was thinking video, but he was actually thinking audio. But if you're talking to a group of people who are professional speakers, obviously these are people who would probably prefer to be on camera, most of them. So video would be the way to go. And if he can't do it via, if he's there in person with them, that's fine. He can bring a video camera. Or the other way to do it is just to Skype and use, as I do here with the webinars, Skype and use something called ScreenFlow. That's what I'm using for the Mac. And for the PC, I think it's still Camtasia is the PC-oriented program. So that's what I do, and I find this to be, it's one of the best ways to do it. By the way, when I record just audio, when I'm doing any kind of audio interviews, like if Bob Line and I created another product, I can't be there in person. I will use either Skype or just call using my Gmail phone, which, by the way, I don't know if you saw this, but just to give you an example. On Avish's site here, this 486-366-1793 number is a Google Voice number that is free. So Google Voice number, just out of curiosity. I can't do a show of hands on this particular one, but if you do have at least one Google Voice number set up, or put in the questions box if you have one or more, just put yes. Just curious, how many people? Pam's got one. Who else? Anybody else have a Google Voice number? Pam was quick to respond there. She said yes. Anyone else? Bueller? Okay. Yeah, so I mean, she's got one. Other people have. You know, the thing about the Google Voice number is it's, number one, it's free. Number two, I set it up, and this is what Avish did here. If you call this number, and it might be kind of cool for us to call it, but if you call this number, it basically is a recorded message, you know, he has on his answering. By the way, one person out of quite a few here on the webinar responded. Now, I don't know if that means you don't want to respond or you don't have one. But you set this up because you can basically screen, as I was telling Bill DeWeese to do, you can screen people, and people who aren't, you know, people who aren't really all that, you know, people who are not yet customers that you want to screen out. You want to go ahead and use a Google Voice number like Avish has done here. And he offers people, for your free instant 15-minute consult, call this. You can also set up the Google Voice number to redirect to whatever phone number you have. So there are lots of different ways to use it. So I would encourage you to do that. And it's a cheap and easy way to do it. What else? That, you know what? That seems to be most of what I'm thinking of for today. So let's open it up for questions, and any questions you have on any of these topics we talked about or anything else, because that's really, you know, without a foil, a JV partner for me to talk back and forth with, mainly that's the purpose of this, where you get to sit in on those, and I don't have a whole lot of just material that I want to go over sitting around. So your questions here, so go ahead and tell me whether or not you have any questions, because that's all I got for you today. I really, I don't have a whole lot more to do. So I'm going to wait, give you a little bit of time. If you have any questions, fine. If not, we will have a short session today based on the fact that there are no JV partners. By the way, Avish will be back next week on Wednesday. So I don't see anybody with questions. Again, this is July. It's the summer. I hope everybody's having, oh, wait a second. What happened with the examiner? Oh, good question. Pam was asking me what happened with my efforts on the examiner.com. I got to be honest, I just got lazy and I didn't really follow through that much. They took me on as a correspondent. I think I can still do stuff with them, but I got to be honest, I just didn't, you know, I just wasn't motivated to do it. I kind of dumb on my part probably, but my real goal with doing that was to be able to get into events free. So Pam, now that you reminded me, maybe I'll try and get a little bit more and you know, see that, yeah, the ads are kind of a pain in the neck. But once you become a correspondent, you get some other benefits, and that's good. But I'll let you know more about that. But good question. And no, Pam, if you haven't been in, your other question has been answered at the earlier part of this webinar, and the last few we did. I'm not doing the 4 posts today, and you can go listen to the other one. So for all of you who want to listen to previous webinars, it's fredgleeck.com/webinars. And you can watch all the other ones. So, everybody, thank you very much for being on the call, and we will see you next week when Avish will be, he promises me, on the call. See you.